Why is Congress likely to do nothing to curtail the chaos of presidential executive order tariffs? Congressman Stanton, Arizona congressman, and Congressman Schweikert, Arizona congressman, both on KTAR airwaves this week saying that Congress should do something. No, Congress should do something. Boy, if only we had a Congress to do something. Mm-hmm. I always love it when Congress people say, Congress should do something. And we go, man, if only we knew a congressperson.
Well, Stanton is backing a bill that would end the state of emergency that Trump used to enact the tariffs on most of the countries out there. So he is doing something, as you put it.
Well, he introduced a bill.
Uh-huh.
And I think he wants to close that state of emergency loophole is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And a little background on this. So the state of emergency, the president can declare that. And we've seen this used before, and the president's got these special powers, and I think that they're very reasonable, and honestly, I think that they're very necessary. But we've always assumed that any president would use a state of emergency judiciously. If we've got war happening, if we're attacked like 9/11, that's an emergency, right? If we have a natural disaster, hurricane hits, state of emergency, right? That's what we think of when we think of a state of emergency. But that assumption relies on a second assumption, and that is that the president would have some self-control over their quest for power. So think back to prior presidents that have tried to do things legislatively, but they couldn't get anything done. It could be tax increases. They wanted to raise taxes. They couldn't get it done. The legislature wouldn't do it. Healthcare reform. They wanted to enact, but the Congress couldn't do it. Immigration reform, this sort of stuff, right? Now, suppose that president used the method of declaring a state of emergency and then circumvented the system. Mm-hmm. And even if it were found to be wrong, they still would be able to implement their executive orders until the courts told them to stop, right? So imagine if we had seen that in the past. That's the new reality, and that is going to be normal practice from both parties moving forward, because once a party cracks the seal on an end-around play, the other party is going to do their darndest to exploit the same loophole when they move forward. Things like recess appointments or the nuclear option on judicial nominations or on budgets.
Oh, and isn't that why Stanton wants a vote in the next 15 days here, whereas the Republicans are pushing back and trying to push this for much later on in the calendar?
Yeah, so you're pointing out nothing is going to happen. You've got Republicans and Democrats who say we shouldn't allow the president to have this much power to crash the economy so quickly, even if in the long run it works out. The short-term pain, was it necessary? Isn't this something Congress should have been looking at, is what the Congress people are saying.
So my big one for why, as you like to say, what's going to happen here?
Nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that Trump's not going to sign this. Why is President Trump going to rein in any of his power and his authority? Even if Congress passed it, Trump's not going to go for that. So that's reason number.
All right, fair.
The big reason number one to me.
If you got bipartisan support, you'd be veto-proof, wouldn't you?
If you've got bipartisan support,
if you've got
veto-proof.
Yeah, he could veto it, but as long as you pass it by a veto-proof majority, then.
But I don't think
it goes.
I don't think we're getting a veto-proof majority here, though. Too.
There you go.
I mean, Congress ain't at that point
That's
either.
It. No, you hit it, and I think, Joe, I think that's exactly right. The GOP majority, and I think this is a big one, I think they're afraid of the president. I think if you were to survey the members of Congress and you were to say, are the tariffs and then the revenge on reciprocal tariffs and then the tariffs on the tariffing, is this a good idea?
So if you could take them all individually, put them in a room and
Lie
say,
detector
nobody's going to see your answer except for me.
Yes.
And if they had to say the truth, they would say,
this is a terrible idea.
Good idea or bad idea?
This is a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think would say that?
96.
Of the GOP. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
96% of them would say that. Yeah. Congress people.
But what percentage of Congress is actually saying that right now? We've seen a few cracks.
Well, you've got 50% Democrats are saying that. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to see you've got about, 40% of the Republicans are saying not a great idea. But they're also saying, these we're going to have to see how these tariffs play out. They're not a good idea. But we're going to take a good hard look at what we can have some deals are coming our way.
Yeah, and they're doing that because they know they're all up
a creek.
In 2 years, if they come out against it.
Well, I think that's it. I think it's the fear of the president. I think part of the reason we're not going to see anything happen in this case is because the GOP majority, they're already at odds over the president's budget proposal. That's been a hassle. They got it passed today, but we know that he's likely to work hard to oust anybody who undermines his vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's had some success in doing that in his vengeance tours. And politicians love the appearance of power, even if they have none, because ultimately you got to have a spine to have any power.
Hmm.
So they're going to get phone calls from people saying, wow, we really think you're a great politician. Thank you so much. Can you fight for us? I'll fight for you. I'll try to get that VA fixed. I'll try to get the money for your schools. But if it has something to do with I'll try to curtail the president's power, bump kiss.
So fear of the president.
Yep.
The Democrats don't have the numbers to get it done.
No.
And what else?
Culpability.
What do you mean by culpability?
Well, think about this. If the tariffs go through, the tariffs are a self-inflicted wound. If this were soccer, we'd call it an own goal.
Mm-hmm.
All right? But suppose that you score this own goal and then you still win the game in the end. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So Schweikert said something, and I thought this was really interesting. When he was talking with, I think it was Arizona's Morning News he was talking with, but it may have been Broomhead, I don't recall. So Schweikert said that he, and I'm quoting now, he believes Congress gave up too much power over tariffs and so much more over the years to avoid responsibility. So they want to have power, but they don't want the responsibility of it. Here's this quote. Congress, in many ways, when they don't want to do things that are difficult, they hand it to the bureaucracy. They hand it to the regulators. They hand it to the White House. And it's just a complete avoidance of having to explain to your voters why you actually had to do hard things. And this is where I think this is a win-win for the GOP in the Congress right now. And even though things are disastrous, and even though people are saying this is Trump's, if you're a member of the GOP, you have time to sit back. This is early in the term. Even if you're a Republican in the House, you're early in your term. You don't have to start worrying about campaigning in earnest until for another year. Yeah, right? So they've got a scapegoat. If everything goes to crap, they just go, I mean, what was I supposed to do? He did it. We're powerless. What can we do? It was the president. The president did it. We don't have the authority. That's the law. He just followed the law. He used executive orders. What do you want us to do? We have no control over that. It was him. Make sure you make a donation to me so I can fix it in the next term, right? But imagine things go well. Imagine the tariffs to turn around. China crashes. There's 1.5 billion people asking for jobs because we just ruined their entire economy. All these things. Then they can go, listen, we knew that when it came to this president, you just had to relax. He is a stable genius who had a plan all along, and we knew it, which is why you should reelect me, because I'm the guy that makes sure great things like what we just saw can keep happening.
There's an R next to my name, too.
Yeah, of course. That's what they do. So I think that there's a blame game that goes on here, and nobody is going to be able to say, and as much as they're going to want to, nobody's going to be able to say the tariff move was the Democrats' fault. They can't say Chuck Schumer made us put these tariffs in. They can't say Hakeem Jeffries made us put these tariffs in. They could say Schumer's policies or Pelosi's policies from the past created a trade imbalance, whatever, but nobody said this was the cure. And so if the cure is worse than the illness, there's only one person they're going to be able to blame.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.